Everyone, I'm Shannon Charter, F-Bomb coach. I help neurodivergent women help figure out the systems to help them run their businesses a little bit more smoothly. And today we're going to talk about batching. If your brain loves starting 5 things and finishing none, batching is the thing that can save your business, your time, and your sanity. Today I'm going to talk about a simple system to help you batch your work, protect your focus, and create more in less time. You don't need more willpower, regardless of what you've been taught. You need fewer decisions. So let's build a batching routine that will fit your brain. So let's start with what exactly is batching. Batching means grouping similar tasks into focused blocks so you don't keep switching back and forth to lots of different things. Here's the reality. Every time you bounce from email to Instagram to your website and back, your brain has to completely reorient. It's called context switching, and it costs a lot of time. You may not feel like it costs a lot of time, but it does because every time you go from one task to another, your brain has to switch the way it is thinking and what it is doing. So it's like your mental GPS recalculating. If you've ever been in the car and it's like rerouting, rerouting, rerouting. For ADHDers, you can end up 3 states away before you even realize you went in the wrong direction. And we want to stop that from happening. So why does batching work? If you have fewer decisions, there's less decision fatigue. If there's less context switching, you have more momentum. You're going to build up your momentum to be able to get more done. And finally, your dopamine seeking brain gets rewarded because you're actually completing the tasks, not just starting them. So I'm going to talk about a 3-part framework. Very simple. Plan, produce, polish. And that is something that is repeatable, just rinse and repeat over and over and over again for all of the different tasks you have. First up, we have plan. This is where you think and decide things. You create one planning block where you decide everything all at once. You pick your topics, your hooks, your formats, and then you're done with those decisions for the week. For me, when I have my posts in my Facebook group, I choose a monthly theme. And then I have a system that every day in my group, there is one affirmation, there is one discussion post, and then I have a tip or strategy that I post like every other day. Okay. I get the planning out of the way, right? I figure out my list of things, then I produce. This is where you make the thing. So you record all of your videos in one session. You write all of your emails in one session. You design all of your graphics in one session. Use a timer. 25 to 45 minutes, depending on what your, attention block is, and work in short sprints with some breaks in between. Again, going back to my Facebook group, I create all 30 affirmation graphics at once. I choose all 30 discussion posts. Then I choose all 15 to 16 tips that I need. I drop them in a spreadsheet. It'll take me an hour or two to do that. But if I were to go into my Facebook group every single day to post those things, it would take more time than that hour or two over the course of a month because every single day I'm going in and saying, okay, what's my post for today? Oh, I have to make the graphic for the affirmation. And then you're going in and posting. All of that back and forth adds up. So yes, you say, well, it probably only takes you 5 or 10 minutes. 5 or 10 minutes over the course of 30 days, that's 300 minutes. That's not 1 or 2 hours. So it's important that you produce in that big block. And then polish. This is where you do the editing and scheduling. Edit your stuff in one block, schedule it in one block, upload in one block. Use templates for your thumbnails, your captions, your tags, so you're not starting from scratch every time. Copy and paste that stuff. It makes things run a lot more smoothly. For me, I sit down the last weekend of every month and I schedule out all those Facebook posts. I don't have to brainstorm, create, and then post each one. I do the same thing when I'm doing my YouTube shorts. I take a day or two where I figure out all of my scripts. And then I take another day or two where I'm just recording one after another. And then on day 3, I'm scheduling it out and I will schedule out a month or two all at one time. You want to build your week with theme days. So you want to have 3 or 4 max, but when you're starting out, you're going to pick just 2. Because if you start with more than that, you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're still just building your week with chaos. And we don't want that. So we don't want to recreate the chaos that you currently have. So start with what theme days make the most sense for you. This is what your week could look like after you get used to it. Once you get into a rhythm of batching and you find what works for you, you might have a week that looks like this, but don't try and jump into it all at once because you don't have systems in place. So you might have one day that is your CEO day where you're dealing with, money and finances and your metrics of what's working and what's not. You might have a day that is your marketing batch where you're doing the content and the emails. You might have one day that you block off just for client work. A schedule like this where you are batching based on theme days helps your brain because it makes every day different. So your brain is still getting that, I'm so bored with this, right? You don't want to do it. It's only one day. Because then the next day is totally different. Tuesday does not look like Monday. Wednesday does not look like Tuesday. And that makes your brain happy. But you're not doing all of that switching within a day and losing lots of time. I've talked about this before. You want to match your batches to the natural rhythm, your energy rhythm, not the rhythm you wish you had. And so when you're doing this and when you know when your high energy, low energy is, plan for that. And I also suggest that you do the same kind of sensory setup. Teach your brain it's time to focus. So use the same headphones or the same playlist or the same scented candle or the same drink, the same workspace, whatever ritual triggers that you can use that tells your brain it's time to focus. So it's very much like a Pavlov's dog situation, right? As soon as you hear that, as soon as you smell that, your brain's like, "Ooh, it's focus time." But it's going to help you be very productive. The good enough rule, I talk about this quite a bit. Nothing is perfect. So we want to, when we're sitting down to batch, set your finish lines before you start. So you want to look at time limit, output count, and quality bar. So set a time limit, 90 minutes max per batch. Your output count, I'm going to do 5 reels or 3 emails or 2 landing pages. And your quality bar, is that good enough? Something that is clear and helpful is always going to beat something that's perfect because perfect doesn't exist. If you wait for perfection, you're never going to get things out. Templates are not cheating. They're a way for you to not only survive, but to be super productive. So start creating templates for yourself. Again, not all at once, but create a hook bank for yourself where you have 30 starters that you can kind of bounce around and rotate through. Have a caption formula or an email skeleton. Write it all out and make it Mad Lib style. What are the fill in the blanks that you can just drop in? So every time you have to do something, you're not starting over and having to rewrite it. You just have to fill in the blanks. That's the kind of thing that's going to make you move faster and get more done. No matter what you do, no matter how focused you feel on any given day, random ideas are going to jump into your brain. That's what your brain is, right? We know this, guaranteed. So instead of giving all of those random ideas your attention, create a parking lot, a post-it pad or a notebook, something that you keep on your desk that is it's titled Not Now. And anything that pops up, you drop on that list. If it's important enough in 30 minutes, it's still going to matter when you're done with your batch of work, right? If it's not important, you saved yourself the 2-hour rabbit hole of looking at something that wasn't going to matter. So I'm not going to say that you never need a team, okay? But depending on what you're working on, you don't need a team for everything. You need strategic support. Things like body doubling. Get on Zoom with a friend with your cameras on, but you're on mute and you can just work together. Use AI to get you started. Use AI for drafts. Get the outline going, and then you just have to polish your voice because you know what you should sound like. You know your personality. AI can't do that part for you. But you want to be able to use it as a tool, as it's meant to be used. Automate scheduling. So schedule posts, your emails, but make sure that it's still you, right? We don't want to sound like a bunch of robots because we're using the robots for our helpers. Start small and scale up. Begin with 1 batch block per week. Same day, same time. Protect it like it's a client meeting. After you get going with that, after a couple of weeks, add a second batch block. The fastest way to fail at batching is to try and batch your entire life all in 1 week. You don't have the routine yet. You don't have systems. Don't try and do it all at once. Pick one thing and add to it. I didn't start batching everything all at once. I started with my blog posts. And then once I got that into a system, then I started with, my Facebook posts. And once I got that into a system, then I added my YouTube shorts, my podcast. All of those things are batched. I do them in sitting. I don't sit down every single week or every single day and say, okay, I have to post here and I have to do this. And I have to. I am scheduled out typically at least a month at a time on most things. Some traps and fixes. So I just talked a bit about the over planning. There's no such thing as perfection for those first two. If you spend so much time planning, you're not going to get things done. You're going to get bored with it. So limit, give yourself a hard stop, set that timer and go. I have 15 minutes to plan and then I'm going to run with it. Perfection does not exist. Publish what you have. Learn from it, improve on the next one. You can't have too many themes. Pick a few. Everything else goes in the parking lot, right? And again, that parking lot can be a lifesaver. It's not going to take you away from where you need to be. Thank you very much for your time today. Here's your move for this week. Pick one 60-minute batch for the week. Choose one task, set your time limit, set your output count, and use the parking lot when your brain gives you a bunch of other ideas. Then come back and comment with your results. And if you want more systems that fit your brain, hit subscribe and share this with a friend who needs fewer tabs and more wins.